Are you an established small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur? Would you like professional advice to help your business grow and succeed? Well, look no further. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is the territory's #1 resource to move your business forward. Enjoy no-cost advising, low-cost training, and technical assistance from experts in both the public and private sectors. The VISBDC is nationally accredited and sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. Visit us at our locations on St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Croix, and follow us on social media at VISBDC. For easy access to all our training and networking events, be sure to join our newsletter and download the VISBDC app. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, here to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Whether you are in the early stages of a napkin sketch idea or you've been operating for years and realize you need a clearer path forward, you are in the right place. We've all heard that a business plan is a requirement for a loan, but today we're going to look at it differently. It isn't just a document for a bank, it is your roadmap to success. It's the tool that helps you navigate the unexpected and stay focused on your ultimate goals. My name is Sharika Industrious Phillips, and I am the Network Marketing Coordinator here at the VISBDC. To guide us through this, I'm honored to introduce VISBDC Business Advisor, Mr. Daryl Edwards. Mr. Edwards is the managing member of Straight Path Consulting LLC, a St. Thomas-based firm established in 2011. With over two decades of experience, he has been a cornerstone for local business development, serving as a longtime counselor and consultant for the VISBDC. Beyond consulting, Daryl is a dedicated educator at the University of the Virgin Islands, where he has taught small business management and introduction to business since 2008. His expertise is backed by a powerhouse academic background from UVI, holding degrees in business, CIS, accounting, and an MBA, along with a certificate in personal financial planning from Florida State University. Here's a friendly reminder to place your questions in the chat, and they will be addressed by the presenting team either directly in the chat or later during our question and answer segment. A copy of today's presentation will be attached to the post-survey email sent after this live session. We encourage you to take a few minutes of your time to briefly fill out the survey that lets us know how we are doing. This data is essential to us rendering these deliverables complimentary to you. Mr. Edwards, thank you for being here to help. And without further ado, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Sharika. Good morning to everyone. I trust everyone is doing well. Okay, so we're back again. I presented this topic in many different formats on many different occasions. I'm thinking of doing something new for a change. What I'm going to do is provide a brief overview of the business plan, and then I'm going to base my presentation based on your requests. I'm going to go through all the slides. There's a lot of slides. I'm going to go through all the slides, but I'm not going to elaborate on them unless you guys say, okay, Mr. Edwards, I need more elaboration on this particular subject. Okay, so it's a little bit different to how I normally present, but we're going to try it and see how it works. Okay, so do please feel free if you see something on the screen and you need further elaboration, put it in the chat, or maybe you could unmute yourself and let us know, hey, I need more elaboration on this particular topic. Okay, so there's this guy named Daryl Edwards. I'm sure some of you know him. Some of you met him like maybe 5 minutes ago. I call him a not-so-wise philosopher. He made this statement. He said, and I underline every business has a business plan. The statement is not a question. Agree, disagree, have no idea? What do you guys say? Every business has a business plan. Agree? Disagree? Yes, no, maybe so. What do you guys say?
I think I agree, but to probably a certain extent, but definitely, yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. We have one for agree. Let me hear what the others have to say. Agree, disagree, have no idea. What's the verdict? We have a 3-panel jury. I think there's 3 people there. Okay, somebody put in the chat agree. So we have 2 agree. We have 2 agree. Let's see if there's anybody else. Anybody else? Anything? I think we have like a 4-member panel. So we need one more to confirm it. Yes, no, maybe so. What the rest of you guys say? Well, you know what? I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote for agree because I made the statement. Okay. So agree. Somebody put, I imagine people plan, but not always on paper. Yes, you're probably even wiser than I am. Because yes, I think every business has a strategy, has an idea. This is what we want to do, but they may not have it on paper. So that's what we're going to focus on, putting it on paper. Because as a business consultant, when I meet with clients, I always give them an opportunity to, give me an overview of their business idea. And I have to say that for the 25 years that I've been doing this, I've been very impressed with the ideas that come out of people. They have some very good ideas. And so sometimes I tell them, okay, what you just told me for the last 15 minutes, you need to put it on paper. And that's when you see the face drop. Oh no, I have to put it on paper. They can express it verbally, but putting it on paper seems to be a challenge for some people. So yes, it's your dreams on paper. It has to be on paper. And of course, when we say on paper, we're not going back to the Stone Ages and typing on paper. Even if it's done electronically, that's still considered to be on paper. So this is what a business plan is. It's really a reality check, just like what Sharika mentioned in the intro. It's not only for, the bank tell me I need a business plan, so I need a business plan. You should really be eager to prepare, excuse me, your business plan, because this is a way for you to determine whether this is a great idea or not. Okay. And of course, we have the usual reasons or purposes for preparing the plan. But believe it or not, sometimes you need a business plan to solicit partners. Somebody may want to partner with you on a business, but they might say, let me see a business plan. And so this is a way for them. Also, potential landlords. Believe it or not, when Crown Bay was opening many years ago, it was a requirement. And a couple of my clients got into Crown Bay, but all of them had to submit part of the business plan, the financial projection part of the business plan. So yeah. And we have the different types of business plans. And of course, if you want the plan to be effective, you have to have these 4 elements. This makes a business plan effective, and it also makes a business effective. Sufficient demand, adequate supply, effective management, and the business has to make sense. And you notice we spell sense with a $sign, so you know what time it is. You know what we're talking about. So these are the elements that are required for a business plan. And as I said, I'm going to zip through. We're looking for positive cash flow as opposed to profits. If we have time, we could show you the difference between a positive cash flow and profit. In an ideal world, they'll be the same, but there are some differences. So time permitting, we might be able to show you the difference between the two. But just think of business, positive cash flow. That's what you want. Profit, you could have a profit on paper, but not necessarily have a positive cash flow. Demand. More information about demand. As I said before, I'm going to zip. Unless you stop me, I'm going to zip. Sometimes you have to create the demand. Sometimes you might have a new product or new service, or you might have a new business. So you might need to create the demand for the products and services and also for the business. So sometimes that the ways that you can create demand, to do regular promotions. You have to measure the demand. You have to find out if there is a demand for what you're planning to sell. If there is a demand, you need to show it in your plan. Of course, you have to analyze demand, study trends, you see different trends happening in your community or around the world. Study those trends, because those trends could help you, develop a business idea. Then we go to the supply part of it. You have to meet supply in these categories. Timeliness, of course, when it comes to shipping, things coming into the U.S. Virgin Islands, we have a big problem with that. So that's something you'll have to take into consideration. If your business is dependent on items coming in from abroad, it's going to be an issue you have to deal with. Management. When you become a business owner, you automatically be a manager. Even if you're ready or not, you automatically become a manager. And these are the principles of management: staffing, planning, leading, organizing, controlling. And of course, you could contact the SBDC for assistance with management. It has to make sense. And these are the two criteria for a business to make sense. Okay, somebody put up their hand. Will this presentation be available after the webinar? Yes, it will be. It will be available. All 58 slides is 58 slides. Like I told you guys in the beginning, I'm not going to elaborate on all 58. I'm going to just focus on certain points. Yes, but to reiterate that point, yes, it will be available to you. So you can go over it. Okay, but in order for idea to make sense, you have to be able to reasonably obtain the startup costs. And of course, the business needs to generate a positive cash flow. That's what I mean by making sense. And we spelled it with a $sign. It's a very important part of the business plan to have a table of content. Because when I'm reviewing a business plan, and I review a lot of plans, people send me plans for my review. When I'm reviewing them, I don't necessarily read through the plan in order. I skip through. I jump through certain places, and we have another. Somebody else. Okay, just to answer the question. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't read the plan all the way through straight. I jump. The section that I go to first, I usually go to the section that deals with marketing. I want to see how you determine that this idea is a good idea. What evidence do you have? So I jump on that section first. I might jump back and look at the executive summary, and then I jump forward again and look at the financials. So I jump around. So I need a table of content so I could know where I'm going or what page something is on. And of course, you prepare it last, because when you're preparing a plan, you don't know what page something is going to be on. So you prepare it last. Now, the executive summary. When I was being trained in business plan, and by the way, the person who trained me used to work in a bank. He used to actually be on the other side, receiving business plans and loan packages and helping to make decisions. So he told me, when I was being trained, he told me that the most important part of the business plan is the executive summary. I have a tendency to disagree. Not that I'm, disparaging my teacher, but I disagree. It's very important. And the reason why he said it's important is when he used to work in the bank, what they used to do is they used to look at the executive summary and they used to make a preliminary decision. Because in the executive summary, you're going to say, okay, I'm trying to borrow this amount of money. This is how it's going to be paid back. This is the type of things I'm going to be selling. This is how long I've been in business if you are an existing business. And they say right then and there, they make a preliminary decision, not a final decision. They make a preliminary decision to decide whether we're going to go forward with this or we're going to put it aside. So from his vantage point, he said that this is the most important section. So take it for what it's worth. He used to work in a bank. He was a decision maker. So take it for what it's worth. Put some effort into the executive summary. Believe it or not, the template that I utilize, there is a section in that template called the business plan. Now, the whole document is a business plan, but there is a specific section called a business plan, which seems kind of strange to me, but that's the way it is. Okay. So this is what's included in the business plan, the nuts and bolts of the business. The customer market and industry analysis. This is the section of the business plan, in my opinion. I don't know how much my opinion counts, but in my opinion, this is the most important. As I said before, when I'm reviewing a plan, I jump straight to this section. I want to see, is there a demand for what you're planning to sell? And how do you determine whether there's a demand for it? Based on what? Did you conduct surveys? How did you make the determination that this is a good idea? So this is the first thing I look at in a business plan. So I think you need to put some effort into this section of the plan, because you're going to also analyze your competition, what's already out there. And that makes that's very important aspect of whether the idea is good or not. You might have good products, but if somebody's already selling them, somebody already cornered the market, you have to ask yourself, should I really go ahead and start this business and have strong competition? You'll have to answer that question. Target market, these are the people most likely to purchase your products and services. And this is who you concentrate on with your promotional strategies, because I like to break it down to people like this. Based on the census, there's about 8 billion people in the world. So how do you get your word out to 8 billion people? It's very costly to get your word out to 8 billion people. So it's a lot easier if you narrow it down. Instead of trying to promote your ideas to 8 billion people, you say, okay, I'm going to target women age 18 to 24 who live in 18 to 54 who live on the Western Island of St. Thomas. So you kind of narrow it down. So it's easier, it's less costly to pick a target market and focus on them. It doesn't mean that people outside of your target market can't purchase your products. These are people I'm targeting. I'm targeting these folks. So more than likely, they're going to be the ones who will be interested in my products and services. Competition, this takes a lot of research. And I do encourage you guys to put the time into researching your competition. I've had many clients who, when it comes to this section of the business plan, they kind of skip through it without really doing in-depth search. And, it winds up hurting them, because even if they get finance, even if the bank says, okay, we're going to finance this business, if your competition is strong, you're going to start the business at a disadvantage if you don't consider the competition. So it's very important that you conduct thorough research with your competition. Also, I encourage a side-by-side comparison. It's on the slide after this one. But just know that there are at least 7 ways to establish a competitive advantage. These are the 7 ways. Price, and you need to know the difference between price and cost. Price is what you charge customers. Cost is what it costs you as a business. Or you could be the leader in quality. You might have a higher price, but you are the leader in quality. You have the highest quality products and services. Or you might be the leader in variety or customer service or credibility. So the thing is, when you're analyzing your competition, you have to make sure that you have advantages in areas that matter to this industry. Okay? You might have a competitive advantage in price, but in the particular industry, price might not be that important. People would pay for the quality. So you have to understand the market and understand which of these 7 is most important for this particular market? Okay. So this is what I mentioned in terms of the side-by-side comparison. You're comparing your business to your other competitors. And of course, you're gonna focus on the areas in which you have the advantage. And the reason why I like this side-by-side comparison, it kind of breaks the monotony of the business plan. Because up until this point, you might just have a bunch of verbiage. So when you stick in something like this, it kind of breaks the monotony. So I do encourage a side-by-side comparison, especially if you have significant advantages over your competition. And it shows the reader that you have conducted research. You should include strategies, goals, and objectives. And of course, your goals and objectives should be SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-driven. Just some examples. And most of my clients would tell me, what's your goal? I want to make a lot of money. Of course, we all want to make a lot of money, but we want you to be a little more specific. How much is a lot? To some people, 200,000 is a lot. To some people, that's a drop in the bucket. You also want to include a SWOT analysis, part of the strategic plan. You highlight your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. And don't be reluctant to include your weaknesses and threats. The promotional plan. This is where you're going to let people know about your business. You're going to promote. And by the way, advertise. People use the terms promotional and advertising interchangeably, but they're not. Because advertising is a form of promotion, but promotion is the overall strategy that you use to let people know that I'm out there or I'm going to be out there. These are the most common forms of promotion. You have the personal selling where you one-on-one interaction with people. Then you have the advertising, that's usually mass media. And then you have the sales promotion. Look at the different types of promotion. Look at them in terms of fishing, right? Personal selling would be like if using a fishing line to fish. That means you could basically, for the most part, catch one fish at a time. Advertising, you're throwing a net out there. But of course, when you throw a net, I don't know that much about fishing, but I know if you throw a net, you might catch a lot of things other than fishing. You might catch beer bottles and cans and a lot of things other than fishing. So you're just casting a wide net and hoping that when you pull it up, you catch some fishes. Okay. But these are the advantages and the disadvantages of the different types of promotion. The personal selling, of course, the advantage is the one-on-one. A lot of people like that one-on-one interaction with customers. You'll be able to tell them, look, these are the advantages of my particular product or service. But of course, the disadvantage, it takes a long time because you have to do it one-on-one. So that takes a while to do. And it might be costly if you're going to hire people to help you with that. I'm going to also include an attachment that's going to include the advantages and the disadvantages of the various types of media, radio, TV, social media. A lot of people want to just focus on social media. Just up to yesterday, I had to tell one of my business students, because he said he's going to just do social media promotion. I said, well, it depends on your product. If you have a product or service in which you need to include people who are not on social media, how are they going to know about your business? So include some of the old time ways of promoting your stuff as well. But I'm going to include that as an attachment to you guys. You guys are going to get this document. Then we have the sales promotion. These are like the little trinkets, pens, and you have a t-shirt with your business name on it. These are considered sales promotion. One of the disadvantages of sales promotion is Sometimes people just want the free stuff and they're not necessarily going to support your business. So you have to take that into consideration. There should be an area, it depends on what template you use. And I have access to many different business plan templates, and you could get them upon request. Some clients, I send them like every single template I have. Some of them say, no, don't send me everything, just send me one or two. I have access to a lot of templates, but on the template that I use, they have a section in which you do your record keeping. This is very important. You keep track of your individual finances for your business. You keep track of your inventory, you keep track of your customers, and keep track of your competitors. That's something that's very important. I used to kind of overlook this section, but I realized over time this is a very important section because you need to have a plan of how you're going to do this. Not keep all your receipts in a shoebox and then dump them out and say, take this. There's a section where you list the management and personnel. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to list them by name, list them by position. So even if you haven't started a business yet, and of course you might not know the names of the people who are going to occupy those positions, list the position, list the salaries and the duties. And if you have a professional team, list them as well. Accountant, lawyer, business consultant. Now, when it comes to the products and services, what I do, and this is just my way of preparing a business plan, is in the executive summary, I would list a few. I would just summarize a few of the products and services that my client is going to sell. I might list 2 or 3. But in this section, I try to list as many as possible so the reader could get an idea. Yes, we're going to be selling all of these things. For example, a restaurant, I would list maybe 3. We're going to sell fish, chicken, and whatever. So I would list 3. But then in this section, I would list almost every dish that they're going to sell. So the reader would have an idea. This is the scope of what my client is going to sell in their business. Now, when it comes to the financial projection, this is the other section of the business plan. The business plan is one document, but it's divided in 2. The first part that we just concluded was a narrative, the write-up. Some people call it a write-up. The second section is the financial projections. You have to project how much money you're going to make, how much you're going to spend, how much you're going to keep. And so even if you're not the one who prepares the financial projections, you still need to know about them, because when you have to interview with a decision maker about whether you're going to get financing or not, they're going to ask you about these projections and you need to know something about them. So even if somebody else prepares your plan, you still should be familiar with these projections. So I included a lot of myths and truths about financing. Even if you don't have a background, you still need to know about the projections. So one of the tips on preparing projections, you should prepare the worst case scenario. I know this goes against most people's way of thinking. I thought you're supposed to present your best foot forward. But what you want to show is that even under the worst case scenario, my business is still going to be profitable. So it's counterintuitive to most people. But when I started to utilize this approach, present the worst case scenario, yes, my client is going to earn let's say between 10,000 and 25,000 a month. I would usually go on the side with the 10,000. We expect to make 25,000 a month, but even if we make 10,000, it's still going to be profitable. When I started to do that, I started to get more loans approved. Okay, so keep that in mind. And definitely include the notes of how you came about with your calculation. How did you come up with this amount? Important when you're pursuing a loan, you have to have at least a 25% owner's injection, meaning you have to contribute at least 25% of the total cost of the project. And if I have an example, a concrete example to show you guys, like I said, if you want me to show it, I could show it. But basically, you need to inject at least 25%. That's the minimum for bank. If you're going to an investor might not have this requirement, but a bank, yes, you need to have that. However you're financing your business, you want to always put aside money for what people mistakenly call it working capital, but it's really operating cash. Okay? It's very important that you have operating cash because you're going to have unexpected situations with your business. So that's where the operating cash comes in. This is sort of like a savings account for a business. People individually have savings account because for a rainy day, in case something happens, they could dip into the savings. So for business, it's operating cash. Something unexpected happens, you can dip into your operating cash account and pay off whatever you need to pay off. These are the three statements you usually need to have. You need to have a projected cash flow statement. Cash flow only shows cash transaction. It doesn't show anything such as depreciation and all of this stuff. Need to have the question, should the owner be paid? Yes, no, maybe so. Your startup business. Should you show that the owner be paid? Yes, no, maybe so. What do you guys think? I'm a startup business. If I show that the owner is not paid, the salary that I would pay to the owner, I could reinvest it back into the business. So we have one yes, the owner should be paid. We have two yeses, the owner should be paid. What do the rest of you guys think? I think I saw another two. Okay, we have one, two. Up to the owner. This person says up to the owner. Okay. Yes, it's up to the owner. Should the owner be paid? Yes, no, maybe so. For tax purposes, but to be, interesting. So for tax purposes, you put that you paid, but you reinvested back into the business. But once you said you're paying yourself that money, you're individual gonna have to be liable for those that income. But yeah, that's a strategy that people utilize as well. They pay themselves on paper, but they don't really pay themselves. Some owners, what they do is they take what they call an owner's draw. Sometimes it's undisciplined. The owner just, because the owner has access to the cash register, so the owner just kind of open the cash register and take out money whenever they feel. But that's kind of undisciplined, and it could mess up the business's cash flow. So it depends. Do we have any additional feedback? Should you pay the owner, specifically with a startup business? Yes, no, maybe so. What says you guys? Some things to consider. It depends on the situation, the personal situation of the owner. No salary, if you don't show a salary, could be a red flag. Because remember, the bank, one of the key issues for the bank is credit. And so if you don't have any outside sources of financing, of personal finance, the bank will know, well, how this person gonna be paid? Yes, they're gonna run the credit check and all of that stuff, but they're gonna say, how this person gonna get paid if they're not paying themselves? How are they gonna pay the bills? Let's see what somebody else said in the chat. You also have personal expenses, so structure a payment of self. Okay, so good. No salary could be a red flag, as we said. It doesn't have to be a market salary. For example, As a manager, you probably would expect 50, 60, 70,000 a year. You not have to pay yourself that level. Consider percentage of sale. That's what I do for my business. Any amount that I make, I keep a certain percentage. And I'll be honest with you, that percentage is very high. I keep most of it. I do reinvest back into the business, but you have to remember, my business is not a retail business. I'm a service business. So I don't have a lot of overhead. So I could keep most of the money that I make and reinvest a small portion. So what my teacher, when I was learning to prepare a business plan, what my teacher told me is that it shows confidence in the business if you take a salary. And remember, this is somebody who used to work in a bank. And that's what he said. If you take a salary, it shows that you have confidence in the business. The income statement, the profit and loss, just like what it says, it shows the profit and the losses of a business. Then we have the balance sheet. It shows assets and liabilities. Assets is what you own, liabilities is what you owe, and equity is the difference between the two. Yes, so I'm going to focus on these last few slides. Prepare your business plan before you launch the business. I know a lot of people, they self-finance a business, which is their prerogative. It's not a problem. And even if you self-finance a business, you still should have a business plan. And then what happens is when they need financing, then they run to the bank tells them, okay, you need a business plan. Then they kind of rush in to get a business plan prepared. So you want to try to avoid that. And no one can really prepare a plan for you. I might be the one to type out the information in the plan, but I still need the information from you. Clients approach me and say, you could prepare a business plan for me. I can't do that. You would have to give me the information. Then I could put it in the correct format. But I can't do it for you. Write your ideas immediately. Have somebody who you can trust or who's knowledgeable review your plan, get some feedback. This information is, business communication. You could take it with a grain of salt because I sometimes violate some of these rules in terms of writing. I don't necessarily stick to them. Questions and answers. Frequently asked questions. How long does it take to prepare a plan? Of course, it depends on how much time you're willing to put in. I usually say between 4 and 20 hours. And how I came up with 4 hours is, I remember this guy. It's unfortunate that he passed a couple of years ago, but this guy, he used to come in on his lunch hour. And for 4 sessions, he used his lunch hour to come into me by SBDC. And for 4 hours, we were able to prepare a business plan. Of course, his business plan was a little simpler because it wasn't that complicated. But I used 4 hours as the minimum amount of time, and 20 hours is approximately the maximum. Unfortunately, I usually don't have 20 hours where I could work on your plan straight. So that'll be 20 hours in between, spread out over a couple of days. How much does it cost? Again, it varies. People have actually paid $25,000. They haven't paid it to me, but they have actually paid $25,000 for a business plan. If you work with the SBDC, you could get it done for free. What's the best template? The best template is, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I have had people who have loved my business plan template and people who have said, no, we want a different template. It really, in my opinion, doesn't really matter. To me, the content is more important than the template. But keep in mind that some decision makers prefer certain templates. I've experienced that as well. And so if they prefer this particular template, prepare it using that particular template that they prefer. As long as it's, not something that's going to. Does a great business plan guarantee that you're going to obtain financing? Nope. This one example comes to mind, right? I helped a client with a business plan, and we submitted it to one of our commercial banks. And I got feedback from the bank. They said, and this is the vice president of the commercial lending. He said, Mr. Edwards, we reviewed your business plan. Oh, we love the business plan. It looks nice. We really like everything. And they still denied the loan. So while I was happy that, they liked the plan, they denied the loan because you have to take other things into consideration. The business plan is only one part of a loan package. You have to take into consideration the credit, collateral, legal, all of this stuff. And the reason why that particular loan was denied is because of credit. So the business plan, as much as the bank said that they liked the plan, they didn't like the client's credit. And because of that, they were denied. So those are things to consider. So that's my presentation. I actually finished less than 45 minutes. Like I told you guys, I really wanted to be focused on what you want to hear about the business plan, as opposed to what I would like to present, what you want to know about the business plan. So I'm finished. Yeah, see all those hands up. You can contact me. That's my contact number. You could contact me through the Virgin Island SBDC as well. If you call me directly, I'm still going to route you through the SBDC. So if you're not a client of the SBDC, I would encourage you to contact the SBDC directly. So they could, you could sign up, they could sign you up. I prefer that you do that. But if you're already a client, of course, you can contact me directly. Okay, so seeing some feedback. Yes. Questions. This is the time to ask the question. Like I said, I did it a little differently than how I did it in the past. I would normally take you guys up to 12 o'clock with the presentation, but this time I decided I want to really focus on what you guys want to focus on when it comes to the business plan. I want to hear your questions, your concerns about business plan. So this is the time for the questions.
All righty, we have a question here in the chat. Do you have any guidance or tips to begin the financial projection spreadsheet for the business plan?
Yes, I have a couple of templates. What I would encourage you to do, if you don't have, of course I can share the templates with you guys, but if you don't have a template, one of the things you want to do is gather certain important information, such as the pricing. All of that is going to help you prepare the templates. But yes, I do have access to a lot of, well, not a lot. Actually, when it comes to the financial projections, I only have 3 templates. I have the one that I use. I have the one that was recommended by the SBDC, and I have another one from SCORE. That's another SBA finance entity. SCORE is a very good option for you guys as well. So yes, to answer the person's question, I have guidance and tips. The tips is make sure that you have that information ready in terms of your usually the expenses. Most people could give me information on the expenses, but on the pricing, the price of your products, and basically how many of those products or services you plan to sell within a certain time frame. That's how we build financial projections. And I do have we did have a presentation on projecting sales on projecting sales. We did have a presentation on that. I think we did it last year, if I'm not mistaken. Possibly. So to answer the person's question, yes, we do have guidance on preparing financials. as much information as you have as possible. You get that together for whether it's you or whoever's going to prepare the plan. That's the type of information they would need. Questions?
All righty, thank you for that. I was just saying the presentation you were referencing, it's available on the VISBDC YouTube channel
Yes.
for persons.
Yes. I'm going to, it's going to be available. I'm also going to send you the, I think there's a document with the advantages and disadvantages of varying types of advertising media. I'm going to share that with you guys as well. Okay, so if you don't have any questions now, at some point you probably will have some questions. Any additional questions?
All right, I don't see any at this current time, so I guess we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay.
All right, so the VISBDC has so much more in store for USVI small businesses. You can visit our website at www.visbdc.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to the VISBDC YouTube channel. For new uploads of our webinars, we encourage you to download the complimentary VISBDC app from the appropriate app store. And so I am going to take this time to mention a few of the trainings that we have coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and interrupt your sharing, share my screen.
Okay, go ahead.
And take our users to the VISBDC website so they can see how to see this training later on. So you would go to our website, hover over the training tab, go down to events, select, and when you go on that page, it starts off by telling you some of the areas that we are focused on. And we want you to click here to get into the portal. And so if you want to see a webinar that has already passed, we encourage you to go here, look at type, make sure center says all. You want to hit on demand and search, and therefore the pre-recorded formats are here so you can watch at your leisure. You're going to see a few that we had in the past 2 weeks. And if it moves from this page, just go ahead and check the VISBDC YouTube channel. It's going to go from there straight to that channel. So what's to come? We have our USVI Government Contracting and Matchmaker Summit happening in St. Croix first and on St. Thomas second. So the dates are May 5th and May 6th. It's an all-day event, in person only, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be at the University of the Virgin Islands campuses. So in St. Croix, it's going to be at the UVI Great Hall here on St. Thomas. It's going to be at the 13D Innovation Center. So we encourage you to go ahead and register in advance so that you can secure your seat to attend. Coming up on May 6th, our Agriculture Business Center, they're doing a webinar with regards to helping farmers and fishers thrive. And so it's going to be a presentation about the Community Impact Fund with the RT Park. Coming up on May 11th, we have VISBDC advisor Liza McGolis. She's doing a presentation on the Island Premium brand, marketing quality over price, and that starts at 11 a.m. On May 12th, we have SBA Senior Area Manager Wayne Huddleston, and he will be focusing on disaster preparation and mitigation for your business. The time to plan is now. And so his webinars usually start at 10 a.m. On May 13th, we have, as VISBDC advisor Daryl Edwards mentioned, SCORE. We actually feature them on May 13th at 11 a.m. They're going to be presenting on Navigate and Elevate, Master the USVI SCORE Mentorship. And then on May 26th, our senior area manager for SBA, Wayne Huddleston, he returns to focus on the 5 C's of SBA loan eligibility. So that's what's to come. We encourage you to go ahead and register, and we hope to see you in attendance. So I don't see any more questions, Mr. Edwards. So I know you're going to send me that attachment so that I can get it to the attach it to the survey email so everyone can get a copy of the presentation as well as that document. And so, since we don't have any more questions, Mr. Edwards, it's always a pleasure collaborating with you on webinars like this. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. And so, on behalf of the entire VISBDC network, compliments of our State Director, Ms. Karen Jones, we thank you for your attendance and we wish you a productive rest of the day. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.